Hey, Global Goodwill Ambassadors, Amina Ali. We are coming to you today, Monday, and I am excited, as I always am. But today we get to talk about one of my favorite novels of all time. I had to read it in like 10th grade, hated it then, but it was a character builder for me, and I kind of remembered some of the tenets and the sonnets in the book that brought about who I am today. And Jane Austen is a brilliant writer. Her book is Pride and Prejudice. Now, of course, coming into cross-cultural diversity and inclusion, I had to bring this book back out, dust it off, reread it as an adult, and get an immeasurable amount of understanding as to what that book really meant. Now, of course, in 10th grade, it was a demand because I had to complete a book report and do an MLA paper or APA paper. I don't even remember which. But I had to construct a construct of this protagonist. And I remember her. And I remember Elizabeth Bennet. She kind of came into this understanding of who she was and what she was. And of course, the title is very synonymous with the book. And I called her an emotional bigot back then. I mean, if you understand the book, she learned the era of hasty judgments, and she came to appreciate the difference between superficial and the essential. And she had to revel all that up in the 900 chapters that had that book. So, but to know that is to discuss our own pride and prejudice. So that's what we're going to talk about today for just a few minutes. Pride and prejudice. Now, prejudice is something that is normally learned. It is something that's given to you, that is taught over time. It is orated based on maybe a hierarchy of learning or maybe an ancestry, given some wisdom behind it. But it's a prejudice nonetheless, a prejudgment. It is saying that a people or a thing is something based on an outward appearance or based on a tangent that really is emotive of what they were feeling versus what it is that really it is. For example, some people say that African Americans are lazy. Now, I really don't understand how they got that tenet. I could be a little biased, but to say that we're lazy based on what we have done over the histories, things that we have built and how we have commanded the presence that the United States has now, I really can't see how we're a lazy people. Now, we have come into complacency in some of the things that we have learned to understand, but to say lazy, I think that is a true prejudice. That is something that someone gave to, I guess, a lineage after them, and it became a truth. I guess if you say it over and over and over again, it becomes a truth. But the pride in understanding that your prejudice is wrong is where we are today. In cross-cultural diversity and inclusion, we have to come to know that our pride, which is that little person on our shoulder that keeps jeering at us to say that we are right, has to be released. It is a part of ego that really is not necessary. It's a stubbornness in us that makes us not want to learn, and the cognitive dissonance in it keeps perpetuating the myth, the rumor, or the innuendo of prejudice. That's what needs to end. The piece that allows us to hold on to something based on something we've understood or learned back in the past, something someone said, or maybe even something that we were taught, has to be eradicated before the understanding of any truth comes. We cannot say that a people is one thing. We cannot blanket a situation or a tribe or a culture of people based on the rational few. That's like saying all priests are pedophiles. That's wrong. We can't say that. We can't even group even a few priests in that. We have to say, this person is a pedophile. This person did this. This person did that. We cannot say that all mentally ill people are going to shoot up a school. We can't say that because we may live with a mentally ill person that has never done anything like that. So we have to be careful with our pride and understanding that we box things, we blanket things, and we subjugate things based on a feeling versus a fact. If you understand the cognitive dissonance that's in there, and if you have it in your heart to understand the amygdala hijacking that comes when we see that prejudice in rare form, we have to negate it. And in order to negate it, we have to understand it. So our pride has to be lessened, the cognitive dissonance will be released, and the understanding of the prejudice will be seen. The only thing we need to do is we need to relax the cognition that formed it to bring in another habit. And that habit will be the true resonation of what it is that we're looking at. That, my friends, is how we begin to eradicate prejudice in our tribes and cultures. If we can begin that random act of kindness, we can't do anything but better the world. Until we meet again, I thank you so very much, and I ask that you try to eradicate your pride in the prejudices that you hold. The world is waiting for that gift. Be well.